Okay, let's walk through downloading the data for this first lab and getting your files set up on your computer. Under the first assignment page, you can see we've got Lab 1 data for the ArcGIS Pro Basics. What I do on my computer is just click on the link and it's going to start a download. You should see this on your computer as well. Depending on your extracting software, it's going to look a little bit different. But here you can see we've got a regular folder. If I go to downloads, you can see that it's an actual zipped folder and we were looking at the contents inside. So I like to go up a level to wherever it downloaded to until I can see the zipper. That way I know I'm getting all the contents when I unzip the data. So once I'm here, I right click and do an extract all. You can extract to the location, but I'm going to go ahead and create a file before I do this for all of my data on my computer. This is really important. You're going to be downloading data every week. You're going to be creating new data files within Arc, and all of that data needs to go to the same location or you're going to have files everywhere and your maps will break. And it sounds like I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. The paths to the data will actually break and nothing will display in your map correctly. So data management, and if you look at the lab instructions, which I'm trying to drag over here, I try and make this point right up front. Data and file management is 95% of what you need to learn this semester, or you will hate doing GIS, I promise. This is from 10 years of teaching. If you can learn this one thing, how to manage your files, you're gonna love GIS, and you're probably gonna be great at it. So take this seriously. Okay, here's my desktop. If you're working on a flash drive, that's fine. I don't recommend working from the cloud. Arc struggles with that, as a lot of different software packages will. It's not a cloud-based platform, so you're going to want to have your files local. So I would just go ahead and do a new folder and call it GIS work. Now, here's something really important. There are a lot of tools that won't function if you have a space in the file name or the folder name. So get used to using underscores instead of spaces. So GIS work. Now I've got a folder that everything's going into no matter what. And if I go in here, I can make a new folder and call it, Lab 1. Whoops, if I can type. And then maybe I'll have another folder for next week called Lab 2. So this is where I'm going to store all of my data. And when I downloaded it, I could have said, hey, drop this right in my Lab 1 folder, but I didn't. And so I can go back to my downloads, which is where I think it went. And if I don't remember where it went, then download it again. Who cares? Okay, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to extract all, and I'm going to make sure that it goes into my Lab 1 folder. Okay, and now I'm going to extract. That way I know I'm getting all of the data. Sometimes you'll download a zipped folder and there'll be 2 zipped folders inside, and the extraction software will show you the contents of one, and you won't realize that you're missing a whole other data set. So go out until you can see the little zipper. Okay, now I have the data. I can verify by going to my GIS work in Lab 1, and here's my Intro to ArcGIS data folder. Inside it, you're going to see a bunch of stuff. Info folders, USA DEM folder, but notice that there are, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 files here that are called the same thing with different file extensions. 50 meter rivers USA. Notice there's no spaces. Here's a DBF, database file, a PRJ, a projection file, an SBN, this is an index. An SHP is the actual geometry that defines the locations. These all together make up what we call in GIS a shapefile, but you can't just take this SHP shape and add this to Arc because it requires all of these files to work together. When you look at the same data set in Arc, it'll be aliased behind one thing called 50 meter underscore rivers underscore USA. And that's what we call a shapefile, but this .shp is just the geometry, and it requires all of the rest of this to display correctly. Okay, that's a little bit getting into the weeds, but it's still really important. So I'm going to go into Arc Pro, I've got it open here, and the first thing I want to do is use the catalog button over on the side to tell Arc where my files are located. So this is one of those programs that can't automatically see the contents of your file structure. So I'm going to go to the folders and right click and say add a folder connection. And I'm going to go to the desktop and I'm going to single click to connect to my GIS. Aha, it's not there because I added it after. Hello. Where's my refresh? Sorry, my refresh was off the screen. Here's refresh, and now my GIS work folder is here. This is something that ArcPro doesn't do very well. It doesn't dynamically update your files as you're working, and so you'll download something, create a folder, and then do exactly like I just did. Hey, where's my data? Well, we had ArcPro open, and it didn't update, so use the refresh button. Here's my GIS work, and actually I'm going to go back and single click on GIS work. It says add folder connection, so I want to click the folder I want to connect to. I can go in and select my Lab 1 folder, but that means I won't be able to see the contents of Lab 2, and I might have data in here that I want to use. So I like connecting to like the highest folder in the hierarchy that makes sense. So this is what I'm going to connect to. And now you can see that ArcPro can see the contents of this, and I'll be able to extract data from Lab 1, Lab 2, any of the folders that I might be working in for GIS. So this is what I would recommend doing to set up your data. Notice here's that 50-meter Rivers USA shape. See how it's aliased behind one thing with this simple file extension, but what's here is really the projection file and the database file and the geometry. It's all there, or it wouldn't be able to display properly. Okay, I'm going to stop there. That should get you started, and if you have questions, let me know.